Welcome to the Florida Food Forest. It is a scorcher today, and I am out in the garden for a very special day. Today, I am harvesting my onions. I am going to go over the process of harvesting, curing, and storing onions. But before I get into all those details, I want to just give a quick backstory on planting up my onion field in the first place. The first tip for growing onions in the Deep South is you need to make sure to get the right varieties. I've got red Creole onions, a white Bermuda wax onion, and I think Texas Early Grano is a yellow onion. Anyways, these are all short day varieties, which means they are meant to be grown over the winter when the days are the shortest. If you grow a long day or an intermediate day variety here in the Deep South, like Central Florida, they're not going to bulb up correctly. Onions have a vegetative state where they make leafy tops, and then they have a bulbing state where they make big fat layers of bulbs. And the bulbing state is triggered by specific day length. So if we get the wrong variety, we're not going to get big fat bulbs. You might just get green onions. Always look for short day if you're in the South. Next, super important, onions are fairly water and fertilizer hungry plants. And we are growing in the South with sandy soil. So this is tricky. This means whether you're growing organic or conventional, you do need to make sure that your plants get adequate fertility. A balanced fertilizer is best, and you're going to make sure to put some sort of drip irrigation down or be really, really mindful of keeping your plants adequately watered because they do not like to dry out. Another note that I've always kept in mind with onion growing, they really don't like the competition from other plants. They just don't do well with competition. They like to have enough space to make nice big bulbs. If you crowd them, they're just not going to bulb up properly. So giving them enough space is really important as well. And finally, I just want to clarify between starting from seed, sets, and starts. So here in the Deep South, you're either going to start your onions from seed, and that would be nice and early in the season. You'd want to get your seeds started probably October, or you can grow from starts. You'd probably order those from a catalog or a local provider. Starts are when someone at home or in their greenhouse sows some seeds in trays, gets them to about this size, or maybe as big as like a pencil, and then they ship them to you. There's a third option called onion sets, and those kind of look like tiny pearl onions that you buy around Thanksgiving time, but those are not something that work for Florida because sets are always long day onion variety. So that's something you would choose if you grow up north, but if you're down here in the South, do not go with sets. You gotta go with starts or seeds. This is gonna be a big experiment because this is fairly poor soil, but we do have the sunlight requirements and the watering requirements met, so we're gonna do our best. All right, so me and my garden helper today are going to get these planted in the ground, and we're gonna see how they progress along the season. I made sure to plant short day varieties in my beds. Here is a beautiful example of a short day onion. This is a red Creole onion. Onion plants are day length sensitive. This means that the plants will grow their tops like normal, but they will not grow fat bulbs unless they get the proper amount of daylight hours. I've got a red Creole here. We also grew Texas Early Grano, and I believe the third variety was something like Texas White. So I had a red, a white, and a yellow short day varieties. And they grew spectacularly. We also always grow onions over the coolest part of the year because these plants really don't like the scorching summer heat. Timing is essential with your onions. Make sure to grow them over the winter. And variety selection is so important. Make sure that you grow a short day type onion. Now I got the bat signal that it was time to come out and harvest my onions when the tops of the onions started to flop over at their base. This lets me know that the tops are starting to dry down and that we're starting to get papery outer leaves. This is my cue. That means it's time to come out. So the first step in harvesting is to pull the onions from the ground and just lay them along the rows so that they can field cure. Field curing is really just leaving your onions in the full sun for about 2 days, and this is just gonna help them to dry down further. Some of these onions are absolutely massive. I mean, this thing is half the size of my head. It's massive. Oh, we had a fantastic onion year and I'm very excited. You can see this one has cured itself down beautifully. The larger the onion, typically the shorter the shelf life. So I'm not gonna expect this thing to sit in my cabinet for too long, but how am I gonna be able to resist making something like onion rings or onion chips with this? It's just so amazing. So we've harvested all of our bulbs and I allowed them to field cure for about 48 hours. I'm not gonna leave them out here in the Florida sun and high humidity any longer than 2 days. The humidity is just a little too high in our area, so I am going to move these onto the drying rack. So this is after 2 days of field curing. We're almost completely dried down. I want these tops to be fully browned out. I'm going to save my smallest bulbs for braiding. Okay, I have harvested a massive basket of onions. Let's get them over to the drying rack. I have airflow happening here, so I'm just going to lay out my onions. I make sure that they're not touching. They need space in between, and I'm just going to lay these out. My next variety here, I think these were called Texas Early White, I believe. Don't quote me on that. I lost the tag. Let's get these dried down. Now these ones were really drying down pretty well already. I don't think they're gonna need too much longer, and I don't believe this variety has a super long shelf life. These are very watery and big, so I might cook these down to preserve them for longer. And now I'm especially proud of these. These were the Texas Early Grano. Woo! These are the biggest, baddest onions you ever did see. They're ridiculous, they're huge. I have a huge, massive, this basket is full of all softball-sized onions. They're ponderous, massive, huge, love them. And I've already taste tested this variety and they are delicious. I will most definitely be growing these again. We are following just the very general principles of drying and curing, which is always cool, dark, dry, and above all else, airflow, airflow, airflow. You always have to have good air circulation when we are drying and curing something. So I have got my wire rack set up off the ground on cinder blocks here. This is really primitive. This just shows you do not need anything fancy. You can do this completely DIY in a pinch. I'm sure somebody's invented a high-tech and beautiful drying rack, but for now, we're just using this old cattle panel on some cinder blocks and it's gonna do the trick. It's been a few weeks now. We are back visiting my makeshift drying rack. The onions are completely cured and dried down. These are ready for long-term storage. See, we've got these floppy, completely dried necks. This papery outside shell means that they are going to have longer storage life. Now, I've got some onion bags and I've just got an open wicker basket for my house, for the kitchen. I'm going to put my biggest onions in the wicker basket because the largest onions have the shortest shelf life, so I want to use them first. These super, super extra large onions, look the size of my kid's head, they have a higher water content, which means that they're just not gonna store for as long, just maybe a couple months for these. Whereas my smaller onions, they have a nice tight papery layer around them. They are going to have a much longer storage life. So I will put them out of sight, out of mind in an onion bag, and I can rely on those sticking around a little bit longer. After all was said and done, it has been an absolutely phenomenal onion year. I will definitely grow in-ground onions again here in Central Florida. This has saved me a ton of money and has provided just an incredible amount of delicious meals. I made pickled red onions. I made onion rings with the extra large white onions. I've had countless meals. It's been the base for all of my curries for the past few months. So to say that the onions were a success would be an understatement.